the 10 best shortstops in all of Major League Baseball in 2022? I have my selections. Let's get into it. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here, back at it for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And as I said in the open, today we will be discussing my selections for the top 10 shortstops in baseball in 2022. So let's begin with number 10. Now we begin the list looking at one of the most dynamic young players heading into 2022, and it is that of Wander Franco of the Tampa Bay Rays. I think that Franco is really going to solidify himself as a perennial candidate on this list. This is going to be one of the best young players that you watch going into the 2022 campaign. I think when he broke in 2021, there was a lot of hype surrounding him, and many people weren't sure what to expect. I think he delivered on all expectations. This being said, going into 2022, he's going to compound that offensive output that he had in 2021 and make it even better. I think that there's very little doubt amongst baseball pundits in the industry that this is going to be one of the best shortstops in all of Major League Baseball. His ability at the plate and in the field is really going to cement him at this position over the next couple of seasons and be one of the best players in all of baseball. That's why it's an easy start to kind of temper expectations, but we begin with him at number 10. Now, as we look at number 9 on my list, it is that of Xander Bogaerts. I think that Bogaerts often gets overlooked as one of the best shortstops in baseball simply because his defensive metrics aren't exactly the greatest. But I think when you compare his solid enough defense with very good offensive output and very underrated offensive output, I think that Xander Bogaerts absolutely has a place on this list. Going into the 2022 campaign, the Red Sox are likely going to be a heavy favorite in the American League East, and part of that is going to be favored on the contributions of Xander Bogaerts. To me, this is a very underrated player and a very underrated shortstop. When building out a contending team each and every single year, the Red Sox have a stalwart in that position, something that they had not had for quite a long time. Having Xander Bogaerts there each and every single day, you know what you're going to get. The level of consistency this player provides you each and every single year is only going to serve to cement himself in this list each and every single season. As his offense continues to grow and get better, as well as his defense, I think that this is going to be a player that you absolutely have to take into consideration amongst the very best at this position. As we get into number 8 on my list, it is that of Trevor Story. I think this going into the 2022 campaign, Story is going to have a lot of eyes on him and a lot to prove. I think that there's an opportunity for this player no matter where he signs. At the time of this recording, he is still a free agent. There is going to be a very big opportunity for him to really cement himself and show that he wasn't just a product of Coors Field offensively. I also think that his defense and his offense kind of get overlooked because of playing for the Colorado Rockies. There's an opportunity here for him to prove just how good of a shortstop he can be in 2022. No matter what team he actually ends up on, I think the Story is going to be a solid everyday contributor for them and really help push whatever team he lands on to the next level, to push for a postseason hunt. We know that we're expected to get expanded postseason in 2022, and Trevor Story is likely going to help whatever team he ends up with pushing towards that next level. I think that Story has an opportunity to really get back to being a solid everyday contributor, capable of putting up over 30 home runs, playing solid defense, and being able to consistently contribute in terms of RBIs. Now, yes, the statistical metrics that surround Trevor Story defensively and offensively can sometimes be a little wishy-washy, in my opinion, because of playing at Coors. But moving him away from Coors Field, to me, is going to really cement him and show his ability on a full-scale level. That's why he makes number 8 on my list. Now, as we get into number 7, it is the newest Rangers shortstop, Corey Seager. I think that getting into a new uniform for Corey Seager is really going to allow him to establish his own legacy. Being in LA, sometimes you can get washed away by the stars out there, with Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, amongst others. I think that now going to a Texas Rangers team where Corey Seager is the $325 million man is really going to allow him to kind of put his full set of skills on display. There's going to be questions about his defense, questions about his health, but there's no denying that when healthy, this is one of the best shortstops in all of Major League Baseball. Going into that ballpark that is still trying to be uncovered in terms of how it plays, Corey Seager can make that ballpark his own. I think his swing will be a perfect fit for that new field. in Texas, and this is only going to show just how good of a player Corey Seager truly is. I think that there's very little doubt about it. The Rangers are going to be a force in 2022, and part of that is going to rest on the back of Corey Seager. As we get into number 6 on my list, we head north of the border to Bo Bichette of the Toronto Blue Jays. Bo, to me, is going to be one of these guys that absolutely is a must-watch. There's so much flair, so much passion, a flair for the dramatic that Bo Bichette has. Playing on a team with some other second-generation stars like Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Kevin Biggio, Bo is going to be the guy that makes it all go. We already had a list this year that we covered in terms of the X factors for each team in every single division. Bo Bichette is the X factor for the Toronto Blue Jays. How Bo goes is how the Blue Jays go. And I think with expanded postseason, Bo Bichette is really going to get on to the main stage of the postseason and show the world just how talented he is. Therefore, he makes number 6 on my list. As we get into the top 5 here, the upper echelon of the shortstop game, Javier Baez, now of the Detroit Tigers, is number 5. When you look at what the Tigers are looking to do, what it seems like their plan is, by bringing in a guy like Javier Baez, they want to get back to contending in the American League Central. While I think it's the White Sox division to lose, Javi Baez is really going to help push the Tigers go towards the top of that division. I think that there's no denying what he's capable of doing on the defensive side, and offensively, while being a streaky player, this is the type of player that can carry his team on his back for a good stretch of time. I think that going into the 2022 campaign with a clear head, a refined focus, knowing what he's doing every single day, is really going to allow Javi to settle in and get himself comfortable in the position. That being said, there's no denying what he's capable of doing on the defensive side of things. El Mago is without question one of the best defenders to watch at the shortstop position. What he does with a glove is sometimes magical, hence the reason El Mago is his nickname. But when you look at what he's capable of doing offensively, paired with a stalwart like Miguel Cabrera, I think that can also help refine Javi Baez's approach at the plate. Sitting next to Miguel Cabrera, a true first ballot Hall of Famer when that day comes, is going to help Javi completely refine his offensive approach. We may see a lot less swing and miss from Javi Baez being next to Miguel Cabrera, and that can make him skyrocket even higher up on this top 10 shortstops list. As we get into number 4, the Chicago White Sox shortstop Tim Anderson takes that spot. To me, Anderson is one of the best players to watch. I absolutely love watching his flair. His passion for the game is undeniable. I think that there's very few shortstops in this game that are better than he is, hence the fact that he is number 4 on this list. I think that there's no denying that the White Sox are going to be able to rely on Anderson day in and day out to contribute with the bat and with the glove. I also think that he's an underrated defender in my opinion, and that's why the White Sox have him so highly valued. Going into this new 2022 campaign, the White Sox to me are going to be the heavy favorites in that American League Central division, and part of that is going to be with Tim Anderson at the top of the order, pushing this team and preparing them to go. When you have a guy like Tim Anderson leading off the game, there's no denying he has the power output potential, but also the ability to get on base and cause a little havoc on the base paths. To me, having Tim Anderson on your squad is absolutely going to be a recipe for success. Therefore, he makes number 4 on my list. Now, as we get into the top 3, the upper echelon of elite shortstops, we look at Francisco Lindor. The New York Mets shortstop, to me, had a rough start with the Mets in 2021. But I think going into 2022, he's going to settle down and get back to being the absolute superstar stud of a shortstop that we know him to be. Defensively, this is one of the best shortstops in the game right now. And offensively, this is going to be a switch hitter who's very versatile at the plate because you can put him anywhere in the lineup. I also think that now by having this New York Mets team under the guidance and the tutelage of Buck Showalter, that's going to allow Francisco to really learn in a different way and be able to use his talents and his skills in a much better fashion. I also think that by having Buck Showalter there to be put into a position of true success, I think that Buck Showalter is an absolutely brilliant mind in terms of how he manages his players. Francisco Lindor to me is going to be a guy who best gets supported by that. And going into this new 2022 campaign for the New York Mets, who are going to be in a very competitive National League East division. So I think Francisco is only going to be able to soar to new heights going into this new 2022 campaign with the Mets. Now, as we get to the number 2 shortstop on my list, it is that of free agent Carlos Correa. I think that Correa, to me, is going to be one of the best shortstops in Major League Baseball history when all is said and done. I think that there's a lot of comparisons to be made to that of Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter, and Cal Ripken Jr. in terms of being a taller shortstop that has some talent of putting the bat on the ball. I also think that with a different squad, getting away from Houston and getting away from that pressure point that was the 2017 sign stealing scandal is going to allow Correa to kind of come into his own and develop his own personality and develop his own skills away from that hot spot. I also think that Correa is going to be a guy who can stick at the position, but ultimately probably moves to third base down the line. I also think that with his ability as a defensive shortstop, as we saw him improve that skill in 2021, not to mention his offensive ability that we already knew he had, this is a shortstop capable of hitting in the 280s as well as having 30-plus home runs, driving in 100, and playing Gold Glove caliber defense. Whatever team ends up having Carlos Correa as their everyday shortstop is absolutely getting a superstar of a player. Not to mention the fact that this is going to be a guy who is probably going to command a very big deal. This is going to be a guy that you can plan at shortstop for the next several years and get one of the best players in all of Major League Baseball. I think that we have yet to see the surface scratched on his potential, and this is only going to serve as another reminder once we see what kind of deal he ends up with. Now, as we get into the number 1 shortstop in the game, I think it's very little doubt at this point that Fernando Tatis Jr. is the number 1 shortstop in baseball. I think while his defensive ability has a little bit to be questioned, there's going to be improvement there. I think playing next to Manny Machado is going to help him improve his defensive ability. But I think that offensively, as long as he can stay healthy, this is one of the most dynamic and entertaining players to watch. The flair for dramatic, the passion that he plays with, the love and exuberance and enthusiasm that he plays with is absolutely undeniable. When you look at what this game needs, it is more players like Fernando Tatis Jr. When they play with their emotion and their heart on the sleeve, yes, sometimes it can rub teams the wrong way. Sometimes it can feel a little brash and unpolished. But this type of player, this type of athlete absolutely has the ability and the tenacity to make himself one of the best players in all of baseball. I also think that going into this 2022 campaign, the San Diego Padres are really going to be encouraged by his growth as a player and as a leader in that clubhouse. I think that there's going to be an opportunity now with expanded postseasons coming that the Padres and Fernando Tatis Jr. put his spectacle of skills on full display in front of a national audience. Fernando Tatis Jr. is without question to me the number 1 shortstop in baseball. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your feelings on this down in the comment section below. Who are the best 10 shortstops in all of Major League Baseball? Let me know your list down in the comment section below and we can discuss it further. I think there's a very good list to be had, especially on this particular position, my favorite position on the diamond. So I think that there's a lot of conversation that we can have down in the comments. So make sure you leave your top 10 shortstops right now in Major League Baseball in the comments and we continue that conversation. As always, keep it locked into the entire GLMG family with WeSips, the Granny Geek Show, and of course here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast. For sticking around to the end, use promo code BANTER to save 5% off your order on BaseballBanterBroadcast.com. Keep it locked into the Baseball Banter Broadcast here on YouTube all season long as I continue to bring you the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions on the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.